Welcome to part 2 of Picture Day Mistakes, where we start the first interior marketing photos. Quality interior photos are much more difficult than exterior photos. So, if you are responsible for marketing real estate in any way, this training will give you some great tools to help you discern whether the photos you are about to post are going to repel clients or if your potential buyers will perceive you as an industry professional worthy of top dollar. And trust me, our buyers know the difference. Your marketing photos are the difference of whether they ghost you or not. So you need to know the difference between a blah average snapshot versus a professional looking marketing photo that is effective and does its job. And trust me, referrals just simply do not write checks to real estate professionals with a poor looking marketing presence. So it's up to you to know the difference. I'll link part 1 below just in case you didn't see that first. So now let's go inside. And this realtor had already taken a little bit of our training. So they knew that rather than just walking in the front door and taking their first photo, let's back up and turn around and point towards that front door. And let's show how that first room that you walk into, let's show how that's all connected. So again, the person viewing this online has never been in this house. Or if you're from the north, house. So we do what's called an establishing shot. So we back up and we reverse and take a picture of the room with the entry door in the background, or we always show that how that entry door is tied into your first main room that you're going to show. Now our brain has got locked in. Okay, now I know how this house flows and how it's connected and what I'm going to see. So we establish the layout of this house. Now, typical cell phone photo, very washed out outside, overexposed, very dark inside and underexposed, and then the white balance is off, so we've got very yellow, dark walls. Now, the other issues that this photo has is outside is this ugly looking mechanical truck. So anytime that we can get a good clean view with blue skies and some greenery outside, we want to try and eliminate anything that would compete with that. So if there were trash cans outside, if there was a vehicle outside, we'd want to use these window mullions to hide a telephone pole, for instance, or we'd want to move a little bit to the left so that that truck goes out of view, or lower down so the table can hide it. So lots of tips and tricks. But crooked lines, and very typical. We all are in the habit of taking photos up at eye level. And then so we've got to look down to see the furniture and the floor, and it just throws off our perspective. So again, our brain is just going, whoa, I'm on a tilt-a-whirl and this is not natural. I don't like this picture. What's wrong? The colors are off, the balance is off. And we never really get to, be at ease and relax in the space in this room. So again, you're repelling buyers rather than attracting them. Now you'll still get some buyers and some interest, but not near as much if you do some corrections. So in the bottom left-hand corner, we see just a little sliver of floor, and it's bright orange compared to the very dark, almost black end of the chairs or couches there. On the right, we've got another little blast of very light blonde flooring next to the very dark green that almost looks black. Then we've got a cabinet that almost looks black off to the side. So we've got a lot of distractions pulling our eye away from the center and out of the picture and back and forth. And again, we don't get to relax and get drawn into the picture. Again, very crooked lines, the picture's up way too high, way too much ceiling, wrong perspectives. And then we've got sun glare coming in front of the grandfather clock. So when I came in, this is what I did in the space, and lowered the camera, added some leading lines. So now a little more intimate space. By lowering the camera, I was able to hide and block the truck outside, and I moved to the left, and so it's just out of view. So now we have blue sky and greenery and some nice colors in the tree. We've got a space where our leading lines kind of give our eyes a place to just draw us into the space and see the nice, get blue sky and greenery and a relaxing space. That's the picture's in balance. And then we still see that front door in the background, so we know how all this is connected. So we've established how this property is connected. So let's move on to the next photo. So now we're on the opposite side. Now we're going to kind of get ready to come into the space. So this is the realtor's photo. Again, I'll just kind of speed through this because the same issues, picture's way too high. Outside is very overexposed with washed out, almost no detail in the bright areas, and then so very dark on the bottom of the picture, underexposed, and the white balance is off. Everything looks very yellow instead of white. So with a small sensor, like in a cell phone or a little small amateur style camera, the small sensors can't read all that difference between the bright outside, and cameras measure in Kelvin degrees, so it's like 12,000 degrees of Kelvin outside in the blasted out white areas, and then inside in some of the blacker areas, you know, the TV and under the TV are only like 2,000 degrees of Kelvin, and a camera can't see both of those, so it kind of does the average, which we see here. And it, you know, doesn't necessarily look all that appealing. So when we use a bigger camera, or I should say a bigger camera sensor, you know, then we get to do get more dynamic range, as they call it. We can get more balance, so we can expose for that outside to get proper exposure, and then we can get the inside brightened up and get the colors more correct with the flash and so on. So I know that I'm going to do some storytelling with my photos, and so we're going to put these photos to a slideshow with music and motion. So I know in this picture I'm going to start panning from the left, so we've established that front door, and we're going to pan to the right and start to zoom in. So now we talked about anytime that we can add value and make this house more valuable than a competing house or the exact same floor plan somewhere else, we want to show that. So in this particular case, you know, we're starting to show we've got nice green views, and, you know, it's not big buildings and siding of another house, so we've got the views established. But this house is a couple blocks from the ocean. So now we plug in a USB into the TV, and we start adding some, you know, sunsets to the TV, and people can start to imagine the emotion of, oh, I get to, you know, walk on the beach with a sunset with my sweetie, and so on. So again, panning from the left and going to the right, we're going to kind of lead you into the space. And now I'm going to draw you in, you know, with our leading line, so that we, you know, have some space to start with, and then we've got some things kind of pointing to where we want to narrow down and zoom in a little more. And then we're going to jump to even a little more intimacy, and now we're like, okay, now I can imagine my butt in the seat, relaxing here, watching a good show on the TV, glancing over and hearing the birds chirping outside and seeing some nice greenery. It's just very relaxing and pleasing. People are starting to bring in their emotion, instead of their brain trying to figure out, oh, wait, what's off? Why is, you know, this is all crooked, and what's, you know, how's this supposed to be? So again, just much more relaxing, you know, more marketing focused. We, you know, on the TV, again, plug in a USB or add a picture to the TV and show the whales jumping in the harbor. We can see ourselves watching TV or just having a nice conversation with our friends in this relaxing space. All right, so hopefully you're starting to get the idea of the important difference between a snapshot and a proper marketing photo. The lines are nice and vertical as our mind expects them. Everything's leveled. The camera's lowered down. So I shoot about halfway from the height of the ceiling, and this helps keep those lines straight, from the window trim to the clocks to the door jambs and so on. So whatever the height of the ceiling is, if you bring your camera down about halfway to that, so oftentimes at chest height, or just below the overhead kitchen cabinets, just a little below that. So about light switch level is where you want to have your lens, roughly in that area most of the time.